Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Cosmic Rabbit. Today I want to talk briefly about the UAPDA, which is supposed to be included in the NDAA, which is the National Defense Authorization Act of 2025, which is currently in the phase of going through the Senate. And to be very honest with you, I'm not very good at understanding the pathways of the government. And so I am going to link a 6-minute video. It's extraordinaire on Twitter. The reason I wanted to make this video is to talk about my experience with speaking to a representative and whether or not that made a difference in what I was trying to accomplish with another group of people. So it's a completely different topic. It's not UAP related, but back in 2019, I went to Washington, D.C., spoke to the House of the representative of the House. The amount of money set for research specifically for pancreatic cancer was about $6 million at the time, which is actually very low compared to other cancers. And being that it's one of the deadliest cancers, one of the fastest killing cancers, unfortunately, it was quite shocking to learn that the research was very much underfunded. And so joining PanCan, or Pancreatic Cancer Action Network, they put together this like a weekend thing, or I think it was during the week. To be honest with you, when I was there, I didn't really think that it was going to make a difference. So to make a long story short, we went from $6 million a year, and the goal was to ask for $15 million a year. And I thought they're not going to say yes to that. And so I went and did it anyway. And to my astonishment and amazement, and I was extremely happy, they voted for it. And pancreatic cancer research got $15 million. So in my experience, I really felt like I made a difference. And so I'm just urging people to do the same for the UAPDA Act. And it doesn't matter whether you think UFOs and UAPs are real, because you want to know the truth, right? Or we all want to know the truth, whether you're in this community or not. I think understanding and knowing about what's going on with that portion of our reality is really important for subsequent things to come. All right, so here's the clip of Lester letting you know about what steps you can take to make your voice heard.
Let's talk about the UAP Disclosure Act, or UAPDA. Currently, it is poised as an amendment, SA 2610, to the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2025. And as we speak, its inclusion in the NDAA for this year is going to begin to hang in the balance. So let's try to understand the process. Typically, the NDAA follows a specific process in both the House and the Senate. Right now, we're talking specifically about the Senate, where amendments like the UAPDA are often included in what's called the manager's package. Let's break this down. The manager's package starts off with a compilation of amendments. So this will be where we see the manager, which is usually the committee chair or the committee chairs, or senior members within the committee, compile a collection of amendments to be added to the NDAA. These are often bipartisan and meant to be less controversial. It then moves on to step 2, the negotiation and selection stage. Before finalizing the package, the manager will negotiate with members and party leadership to ultimately get a collection of amendments that has broad support that will avoid a lengthy floor debate. This is where we are right now, where that manager's package is being finalized and compiled. We then move on to the third stage, which is submission to the floor. Once compiled, the package is submitted to the full Senate as a single bundled amendment. This allows for all of the included amendments to be considered together, which helps to significantly speed up the process. This is what we saw happen last year, where the Intelligence Authorization Act as well as the UAPDA were both included in the manager's package that were voted on the Senate floor together. We do see that the IAA this year is being pushed to be included into this manager's package as well, and we are pushing to make sure that the UAPDA is again included in the manager's package to the submission for the floor vote by the full Senate. The package is usually then debated briefly and then voted on as a whole. If it passes, all of those amendments are then included and incorporated into the Senate's version of the NDAA. Now, the impact on the legislative process by going down this route is pretty obvious, but the idea here is to more efficiently handle numerous amendments at the same time and avoid gridlock by having each individual amendment go to a floor for debate and a vote. However, we are in an election year, and this often can complicate the legislative process. So there are going to be some time constraints and political considerations that will go into the process this year. So there is the potential that we see a different path taken than the one we just walked through, although as of right now, the Senate is going down the path of the manager's package route that we just discussed. We are closely monitoring the situation, so as we proceed, if we do see any changes here, we will update accordingly. But as far as we know to date, the Senate is looking to pursue the exact same process they did last year, which will dictate how the UAPDA will be discussed and negotiated. Now, for what to say when you call your senators, we have included a call script at the link attached below, but you'll start off by introducing yourself. You can mention if you are a constituent. That's going to be really important, and the most valuable calls are going to be to the senators that you are a constituent of. And you're going to explain that you're calling about the UAP Disclosure Act. You can mention the bill number, which is also referenced in the call tool. It is SA 2610. And then you want to emphasize the importance of this act for transparency and national security, and ask if the senator is going to advocate for the inclusion of the UAPDA in the manager's package and support it in the upcoming NDAA vote. That is what you can do when you contact the senators that are going to be available in the call tool at UAP Caucus. Your calls now, today, this week, next week, can make a tangible difference. It's crucial that we are already building the momentum and support for the UAPDA. Before we can worry about the battle with the House for the inclusion of the UAPDA, we have to make sure that the UAPDA is in fact included in the Senate's version of the NDAA. So this is not a hair on fire moment, but some of those additional calls that we can make to push some of the folks over the edge to make sure that they support the inclusion of the UAPDA in the Senate's version of the NDAA is critically important for us to get to the larger battles as we enter October and November of this year. We'll continue to monitor the situation closely. If the process changes or if we need to pivot our strategy, we'll update you all immediately. But remember, your voice matters in this process. Each call, each conversation with a Senate office will bring us one step closer to making sure that we get the UAPDA passed. So for the next 2 weeks, the primary focus is to contact the Senate and those key committee leaders as well as key committee members to ensure that the UAPDA is included in the manager's package and brought to the Senate floor for a vote. And then we will move on to phase 2 as we look to get the House to jump in and support the inclusion of it in the final version of the NDAA to be brought to Biden to be signed into law, hopefully in December of this year.
All right, so there's that clip. I really think that it could make a difference. I know that it's a completely different topic, but a lot of times it's about awareness and how it could impact us. And if people are not aware of how this might impact us in our daily lives, then they're going to just not think about it. Now, for the UFO community, obviously we're thinking about it all the time, but other people like my brother-in-law, for example, who's not obsessed, but open to it and now aware of it. And I think there might be a lot of people out there like him that are not necessarily strictly skeptical or against it, or they might be skeptical but open-minded and willing to do those kinds of things, like giving your representative a call. It's just a call. I know a lot of people think that the government's never going to disclose, and that's fine. I honestly don't really think that they're going to disclose everything either. But for people like me who are really trying to figure out a way to contribute to UAP disclosure and to contribute to getting people to understand what our real situation is, what the reality that we live in actually is, then I'm going to do whatever I can to try to help. A really great example of why awareness is in part key is through the work that Matt Laszlo has done. For example, what turned out after Matt Laszlo spoke to Martin Heinrich, and Martin Heinrich kind of was like, oh yeah, it was out of his head, and then the next day he signed on as a fourth sponsor to the UAPDA Act. And so that's just a really great example of, he might not be completely obsessed with UAP. I'm actually not really sure. I don't want to put words in his mouth or anything, but he signed up for it. And so part of it, I think, is just awareness. And certainly now, after the congressional hearing with David Grush, Congress is aware of this, is aware that something's up. It's interesting how all this is being played out chronologically. So, for example, the bill and all that is supposed to be looked at, reviewed, passed, and all that in the next couple of months. And I'm filming this on a Sunday. Lou Elizondo's book is coming out on Tuesday. James Fox's documentary is coming out shortly after that. And so I think with getting it out more to the public, people who are not so much in the UAP community, this is going to gain a lot of attention. And so we're going to have more people who are not generally interested in the topic be reminded about this topic, because Lou, if we're talking about Lou, he's the first one that came out most recently in 2017 and kind of really blew the doors open on this. And so to hear from him again right before this bill is supposed to be reviewed and passed, I think it's kind of a great strategy. I don't know if this is supposed to be on purpose. I know a lot of people don't think that this is going to make a difference, and I totally see their points. The government, or different parts of the government, or even these black projects, they don't want the truth to come out. But like I mentioned, awareness is key, and getting more people to look at this topic seriously is going to get people to ask questions. And so us as a community stand ahead and try to get other people who are not that interested, let's get them interested. And I understand that that can't be the only way that we're trying to get disclosure. I just think that it's really important to have different venues or different ideas and different, I don't want to say modes of attack because that sounds aggressive, but you want to have different plans in place in order to try to get this disclosed. And so this is one step that we can take toward that. So talking to Jake really made me realize, it was an eye-opener that there are a lot of people out there who would be open-minded and interested in learning about this, and interested in learning about how they can make a difference in getting disclosure. It's just obviously not something that they're thinking about all day like we are, but they're out there and they're willing to listen and they're willing to be part of our team. And so I think part of our responsibility as the UFO community is to go out there and spread awareness about this. And so that's what I wanted to do with this video, is let you guys know that while it's not guaranteed that this amendment is going to be passed, it is important to get the awareness out there. It is important to call your representative. And who knows, maybe at the end of it, you'll see that it is passed. So your voice matters. Take a few minutes out of your day, give them a call, and see if at the end of this, our voices made a difference. If they didn't, we'll just try again. But at least you would have known that you did what you can to contribute to disclosure. Thank you all for watching, and remember, keep an open mind.